Well, hello everyone. It's me, and I'm back with my lovely basket of grapes. I've done some playing around and coloring of with some markers with the green down here, and but mainly this up here has all been done with my Crayolas and a few of my um, Settler Triplus Fineliners. So I thought this would be kind of an interesting little thing. I am going to try to color for just 30 minutes and show you hopefully how I'm doing the basket, but also to show you how slow I really color. And I think if you watch a lot of my program, a lot of my of these, you would go, you know what, we already know how slow you color, but how deliberate I am. So as I do color, and it's the process that I really enjoy. So what I'm going to do is just start with my basket, and I'm hoping to kind of focus over here and go down so you can see the colors and how I'm doing it. But the vision for this, and I'm just starting off with my Harvest Gold here. The vision for this is to make it almost like one of those kind of a reddish brown willow baskets was kind of what I envisioned my grapes going into. So not the lighter color baskets, but your darker ones. And right now I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing. We'll have to see how it goes, but all I'm doing right now is on all my little cross hatches. I'd go in very lightly with my first color, which again is the Harvest Gold Crayola. And I'm just going to go in and do a light coloring, but I want to just color for 30 minutes. So I'm looking at the clock right now. All right, and so now I got to figure out what is 30 minutes from now. Okay. Just to kind of get an idea of how much I actually get done in 30-minute increments, because sometimes what happens with me is I get coloring and then I just mindlessly keep coloring, and then I look up and 4 hours have went by and I've been coloring for all that time. And because I do have other hobbies and other things I actually need to be doing at my, in my home, I need to be aware of just letting myself go down a rabbit hole. So, maybe cutting back on my coloring time at one sitting instead of, just going on and on and on for 4 hours and then go stumbling to bed, because that is one of the problems I'm having. And one of the things I'm not allowing for is then turning these into actual videos to put up on YouTube. And I have all these great intentions and I do all this filming, and then I don't put them up on YouTube. Now, one thing I have noticed that I've had some difficulties with is keeping things in focus. So when I go back to look at my videos, I'm like, they're all out of focus. Why is that? So maybe this old lady needs to make sure she's got her glasses on and is checking in every so often before I do, a giant recording of coloring. It's actually out of focus. So that's not something I can put up. Nobody wants to watch an out of focus video. So I need to be aware of that. So trying to just keep it to 30 minutes might actually show me, maybe I should try just 30 minutes of coloring a day. Because what I do is I kind of go through feast and famine time. I either do come home and all I want to do is color, and then I've spent 4 hours after work just coloring. I throw something unhealthy together to eat. And then next thing I know, I'm staying up till midnight. Well, I get up at 5 and I need to be my sharpest I can for my kiddos, and I'm not, I'm just not very sharp because I'm so tired. And by the end of the week, I'm ridiculously tired. So for my next color coming in, I'm going to do the underside ones, the ones that run this way. And I'm just doing a slightly darker, and I'm just using the tan. I mean, it is ever so slightly. I do a lot of the shading on the basket with the Triplus and, my other darker colors. But so the Triplus Fineliners are working great in this book. And they're working really well with the Crayolas, so that's good. Again, I love when I actually use, things that I have here at the house. The markers just give a little bit deeper shadow than I can get with my Crayolas, and that is my only complaint with my Crayolas, but at the same time I love them because my Prismacolors I can get pretty darn good dark colors with, but I can't get really uh, light colors that are strong, if that makes sense. So like really depth of color with light colors with my Prisma, I don't do as well. I think either I'm heavy-handed, I don't know if that's it, and that might be part of the problem. But I find myself having that issue. So it's kind of nice to have both, available, and to use the Prismacolors and to use the Crayolas. However, I really like how these Crayolas lay down, and I like doing my layers with the Crayolas. So now I'm just going in and putting in a little bit of shadow, but not much, just with this slightly darker tan. Just to remember, I use a lot of these lower or lighter layers to kind of map out what I'm planning on doing, whether it be shading wise or highlight wise, one way or the other. My lowlights, my highlights. I'm kind of planning that out as I go along, and I'm doing it using these. And as you can tell, this isn't my darkest color. We know we're going to get a lot darker. I mean, compared to that, you're going to get a lot darker. And then the other thing is that in the previous video where we did the grapes and I was trying to do the little tags with the numbers on them, I'm not sure that they're big enough. So I think I need to redo my tags and make them slightly bigger. But I did like doing that, and it did allow me to stay focused on my coloring a little bit more. And I'm not sure, I'll be able to, I haven't done that video, I haven't edited it yet, but I think it's going to help with the ease and time for editing. Because boy, that takes a lot of time. And that's what happens. I want to color so much, so I waste, not waste. This is not wasting. Let me retract that. Back up, get that out of there. It's not a waste coloring. But I dedicate so much time to my actual coloring that then I don't have the extra time to be doing the editing, and I need to find a balance because I do enjoy your comments and the interactions we have. And like you, I watch videos, and I like watching videos and listen to people talk about coloring and what they're doing, so that I can learn some more and just to have that connection to the community. So, if I like watching them, I feel like maybe I should be putting some out there, because what I find is I don't know if I'm just not looking up correctly, but there's not enough people out there doing it. So if you're thinking of doing it, please jump in, because we could all use someone else to watch while we're coloring. I know I feel like I can speak for the community. It says, please join us. And I don't have a huge following. I love the people that are following me. They do comment and they interact, and I appreciate that. But it's nice to be connected, and it's nice to know that maybe people are relaxing and coloring while having a little company. And that's what really these little chats are. So not all mine are chats. Mine are kind of a hybrid where it's actually kind of telling you how I'm doing it, because I figure people might have questions. Usually my chats are about coloring. I don't go into too many other subjects. I might need to start talking about my books, because I am still reading and I'm listening to a lot, especially while I color. All right, so here's my dark chocolate, and again, this is just going to start making those little. So if you were doing a lighter basket, all of these colors I'm using right now I think will be really great for like one of those honey colored baskets. I don't know if there's a proper term. This I'm thinking more of that deep willow. I like that look of the deep reddish willow. I'm trying to grow willow out in near my garden, but I think I didn't do such a great job this year, but hopefully next year it'll be better. I mean, some of them have stuck by with me, but I think I was a little bit too hands off with them, and I don't know how many are going to make it to next spring. So, but we shall find out next spring. But you could really use these color combination and then just really start going more over with your yellows and your oranges, and you could, just, you wouldn't have to go to the darker. But for some reason, I just foresaw this as a darker basket whenever I was thinking about it. That's part of my process when I'm thinking about coloring. I actually envision what I see most of the page, what I'm looking for. Then I go and think about how am I going to achieve that. And that's, of course, always the harder part. How do I achieve that? And it's interesting because I don't always know. Now, sometimes I have an idea of a material that I want to work with, or, so I know I want to do my Crayolas, so I know what that's going to kind of look like. Other times, I try to figure out if I have a certain technique I want to try. That sometimes spurs on what I'm envisioning. And then most of the time, it's just kind of getting ideas of what colors. So for some reason, when I saw this, I thought of autumn with the harvest. Probably because it is autumn now, so of course that's in my mind for us over here in the United States. So I liked all those colors, and I was just really inspired to use those colors, and I thought, I'm really enjoying using the Crayolas in this book, and I have a tendency to want to use the same, it's weird, even if it's not a book that is, it's individual pictures, it's not a storybook. I have a tendency to always want to use the same materials in the book. And now this one gives the illusion of it's a fairy tale and it should be all tied together. So maybe that's why. And I want to use, Crayolas in this. But also I just want to really use my Crayolas because I've been enjoying them so much. And then these Triplus Fineliners, finding ways to be able to incorporate my markers that don't easily blend like alcohol markers do. I always call them alcoholic markers. Sounds like they sit around drinking wine all day. My alcohol markers. There we go. See what I'm saying about this basket? I literally could take these 3 colors that I've used so far and just whittle away hours working on this. And it doesn't make for a slow process, but it also makes for great value for money when it comes to the books. That's for sure. I mean, think about it. Even if I paid $16 for this, which I can't remember what I paid this, $16, $17 or more, maybe 20, because I think I had a special order it, so it's probably closer to 20, 25 maybe. But think about the hours that we get, the hours of entertainment that we get. And there's not many hobbies or interests that people have that you can get that much. I mean, think about how much it is even to go see your favorite football team. It can get pretty expensive pretty quick. And you're only seeing one game. And yes, even, you sit there and you think about, oh, well, even if it's on television, which makes it last longer than the typical play because you're waiting for the commercials all the time and all that mess. But if you think about it, it's funny. It's still only 4 hours you paid. I mean, my brother was telling me the other day they went to a college football game, and yes, it was a big rivalry and it was very well known. But he was saying, he paid $125 a ticket, and there was 3 of them that went. And yes, he had a great time. He really loved it. I'm not disputing any of that. But when I sit there and think about the cost at $125, and then of course, $14 to $20 for any type of food, and probably 10 for a drink and all that other stuff, and it was only for 4 hours, my coloring is darn right a bargain. Can you tell that Christmas is coming? I'm going to try to justify asking for yet another set of pencils. I don't know if I am, though. I've had my eye on luminance, and I kind of want to get some to test out. And I've got a couple in specific colors, but I need like some of the darker colors. So what I'm looking for is a pencil that is able to really get some really deep dark color. Prisma does, but I'd like them to be a little bit harder. So, you know, more like a Faber-Castell, but I can't seem to get like that really dark red is elusive for me right now. And I know I'm going to want to do some red. All right. Oh. So this has been kind of interesting because I have to kind of watch the weave and where it goes. And not all of it is just like a little hump like these where these are going in and out, so they're going to change color as they weave in and out. And I kind of, like I said, I'm using this dark chocolate now to really mark out where where it weaves in and out for me to really know that should be a slightly darker area. So that's what I'm using all this for. You know, one thing is that this isn't a straight brown. I kind of think of that willow as having a little bit of like that red look in it. So I will be adding a little bit of a base red orange color and then going back in with some yellow. So I've been hearing a lot recently about things like when you're an artist and things, you visualize things, you do all this, and one of the things they talk about like drawing, which has anybody else seen that really weird advertisement? There's this one that pops up on YouTube all the time for me, and the guy says, "Have you always wanted to draw art?" And the way he says art is really kind of odd to me. I don't know. You want to draw your own art? It's I don't know. Anyways, I usually about the time he says it, I hit the skip. I don't like when things annoy me like that. I do try to watch some of the video or some of the advertisements like, well, okay, am I really watching them? I let them run while I go do other things, especially on some of the YouTubers I really want to support. But I don't know how all that works anyways. I don't know if that really does anything. If, you know, waiting until you can skip the ad, do they get more support or whatever, more money if you watch the whole ad? If anybody knows, let me know, because I don't understand any of that. I don't know if any of mine show with advertising, but I haven't monetized my channel at all. So I mean, I don't get anything from it. So if you're seeing commercials, if they interrupt my videos, you can just skip right through them. Don't worry about it. I'm not getting anything from it. No, I mean, at the same time, though, I'm glad it's supporting YouTube because they are providing a platform for us to do these things. So there's always that back and forth kind of thing. I think that's probably why I don't do any of that monetizing myself. Or plus, I'm an amateur, you know, like an amateur professional, or not, well, amateur sportsman or whatever. You know, I take that you don't get paid for what you do. But anyway, I don't know. Boy, I just went way off, don't I? Yeah, the guy with the weird art thing. It'll be funny when I'm doing the editing this video. I'll hear myself and go, "Oh God, you never finished your idea." And I notice I do that a lot, so I apologize. I kind of start talking about something, and something else, you know, squirrel happens, and then I start going, "Oh, let's talk about that," and then I never get back to what I was originally saying. Or sometimes I notice I kind of stop off in mid-sentence and just don't seem to pick it up. I would have a fit with my kids that I work with and with my clients that I work with. If we'd be like, oh, back the truck up. You didn't finish your thought. But I don't whenever I'm coloring. That's probably why it's so relaxing. I'm not actually critiquing myself very hardly about how I'm saying things or what I'm saying. I'm just jabbering on while I color. So hey, that was kind of cool. That actually has turned this in. This almost looks like I could have even done like a copper look to this with the color choices I've made so far. As if it was a copper wire interwoven, but it's not what I envisioned. Right. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I told. That was just plain old red. Good old Crayola red that I did there. Nothing too exciting. Now this was an interesting color. So this is mango, and boy does it look really, really orange. But when I put it down, it actually comes off with more of a yellow. Now, if you think what a mango looks like when you open it up, it definitely has a yellow look to it. So I'm not saying it's the wrong color. It's just the barrel and stuff. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a real orange. And instead, I get this nice little yellow color, which I like. It warms everything up. Like I said, at this, right here, I mean, you could really start yellowing it, making it look a little bit more yellow and start really adding more oranges to it. And you can make this go directly into a honey colored light basket versus this darker one that I'm going for. But because I've already, like I said, I envisioned it being dark, I need to continue with that. Plus I've already done a portion of it. So that's going to be important too. So. All right. Now I'm going to come back in and really start heavy doing some shadows here. So I'm just coming back in with my dark chocolate and just going to really start kind of layering these up a little bit more. Now what's interesting is I know that once I go to using the markers and things, the Triplus Fineliners, a lot of this disappears. But there's a part of me, as I've said before numerous times, this is how I developed this look. I don't want to skip anything because it might make it look different. So even if I could have just went straight to the markers, I don't know. But I think it helps me with my blending and how gentle I am with the markers so that I don't make anything too strong in lines. Because that's why I don't use a lot of markers. I can't get my gradients. Especially if they aren't alcohol markers. And I have a few alcohol markers, but not many. And I don't, you wouldn't use them on a book like this anyway because it's going to bleed through to the other side. And the Triplus don't. And the Stabilos don't either because I use the Stabilos just to put in my green there for the base for my little grape guardians or whatever. Like little Roman soldiers bringing in the grapes. been trying to think of ways to make sure that maybe I can get more videos out. Um, Anybody who's been following me for any amount of years, I'm very sporadic with my videos. I'm not consistent with them. And you know, it's okay that I'm not, because this is a hobby for me. This isn't a job. I do have a full-time job that I go to, and I want to spend time with my husband when he comes up, or if I go to New York, you know, I'm not dragging all my videoing equipment with me when I go to see him in the city. So I just, you know, I don't expect it, and I try not to put that expectation, but really and truly, what happens is I do color a lot, so I need to be filming, but I need to find that balance of then getting them up on YouTube. Otherwise, what's the point of filming, right? And I've toyed with the idea of stop filming, and then I just want to, because I want to share something, or I'm excited about a particular book, or whatever. And then, like I said, I go out and, you know, I watch so many of the colorists, and I enjoy having them as company when I am coloring. And then I just think, well, there's other people like me that want more of these videos just because they want somebody to be coloring along with them. And, you know, finding people who color as intently as I like to, you know, I'm just going to get met with a lot of strange looks, if anything. I have met a couple people at my work who say they like to color, but then I start wondering if there's just something wrong with me, because I don't know that they like to color to the degree I do. So I don't know that I want to, you know, share with them. And they're not going to be people that are going to want to, you know, meet up and color together and all that. I mean, that they've got their own lives. They're very busy with their kids and their families. So, you know, that isn't. So the only way I can do that is by being on here. And I've toyed with the idea of coming on and doing a live, but I don't know. Again, I feel like that's kind of saying I have to do it at a certain time, and you know, I need to have somebody to help me be a moderator, and I don't know how any of that works, I guess. So this is fine, and this way you can watch it whenever you're ready to, because not everybody is going to be around at the same time. So I've darkened up, but if you notice, I mean, look, this is, I mean, I'm getting to the point I can use a little bit of black to darken this down, but there is no way I'm going to approach that really dark color that I've got going and what I was trying for. So that's why I went and introduced the Stabilos. So, all right. So by Stabilos, I'm talking about these, not Stabilos, I'm sorry, Statler, Triplus Fineliner. That's just, these ones are these little triangular. And what I've been doing is, to get myself going, is I do go into some of these smaller bits that I know are going to be really dark. And I just go ahead and color them in dark. They do not bleed through, which is nice in this book. And they are so tiny, they work in these little tiny crevices really, really well, which is good for me. It really lasted me a long time too. I've not had any problems with them. And then one of the things that I do, and I'm just going to show you here, but I am 2 minutes away from 30 minutes, and you've seen this is all I've managed to get done in 30 minutes. This is why I speed mine up. But then I'm going into where I know that it's going to get dark, and then I just kind of do lines a little bit and start going in where I know it's going to be really, really dark. This is the deepest, deepest shadow. And I don't come out really far with them right now. I might. You can always add, but you can't take away. So I always start very conservatively when I start doing this. And then as I look, I'm like, oh, I can go deeper or longer stride. You know, I can have more in the really deep shadow. Now these don't have numbers and they don't have names on them. I have put numbers so that when I swatched them, I knew what I was looking at and knew what I had. Because I'm always curious when I get markers, the first thing I want to do is find out, do I have enough lights? Because I'm always looking for light colored markers, but dark colored pencils. Does that make sense? I always want what we can't have. And then up underneath here, I'll put a shadow. I know that because this is going over it. Like I said, I'm really just doing it ever so lightly and not very long compared to the other ones. And there we go. That is 30 minutes of coloring. As you can tell, even from that to this is going to be a lot longer of a process. But that's about all that I can get done in 30 minutes. So that's my slow coloring, but I really like it and I enjoy it because I like the end process and or the end product, and I love the end process. So I'm actually going to stop right now because I need to go feed myself. That's another thing. I'll get really hungry. And then I'm going to come and continue working on this. I will go ahead and attempt to film myself doing the rest of this section. But it's not going to be in this 30 minutes. So what will happen most likely is once I get going, I'll just do the speed coloring part for it. So that was 30 minutes of coloring, and that's what I managed to get done. Wow. So I'm back I went and had dinner, a quick little meal that I had thrown together. And so now what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to go ahead and walk through these through the whole process, and then depending on how long that is, I then will either go ahead and film the rest of me finishing out this section. Remember, this section here took me up to here already 30 minutes, so but I mainly want you to see the full color range that I'm using for these little parts of the willow basket that I've got here. And as I was saying before, I really am very cautious about how much dark I put in to begin with, so that's why it looks really choppy. Because, putting in these dark markers or even really dark pencils, it's so hard to make those disappear. You can't lighten them back up. So that's, I always start with my lightest colors and kind of go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. And kind of, I'm very cautious with it. So to lighten this up, I'm going to continue on with my Triplus Fineliner. And you're going to see, now this is a more, there's the pin cap. It's more of an orange, which is fine because I kind of want that orangish red gold look as the base of the willow. And I'm going to go back into the dark brown and then take these and bring it out a little bit. And this is about as close as I can get to making gradient. They do not blend. They are not alcohol markers, so they don't. But I can go back in with my actual pencils and then help with the blend as I continue going. And I do have one lighter color pencil I can use for, or pen or marker that I can use for this. That will help, and you'll see that in a moment. Again, doing this ever so lightly for right now. And adding it as, you know, thinking in the form of the shadows. And I do go back into that dark just a little bit to try to create some form of what looks like even a blend. We're finally getting some cooler weather, and I am really happy about that. I function so much better in cooler weather than hot. Whew. I'm happier. I'm easier to get along with. Yeah, it's a good thing when there's cooler weather. And the leaves are changing, so that's wonderful. So as you can see there, of course, compare. All right, so if you go from here, there's nothing, and then here we've got just my pencils at this point. I will go back in with more pencils most likely to finish some things up. But as you can see, this even here is not quite there, but it's getting there. It's a lot closer now. You're getting more of that deep brown, and it's starting to really kind of get it almost a life of its own as far as turning into that really strong wicker basket. I love things like this. I think this would probably drive some people absolutely batty, but for me, it is one of my favorite things when you have an element that you just get to do the same, almost repetitive colors, because that's when I can just calm. And when something has tons of colors and I'm having to change all the time, I don't do as well. I start getting nervous about my color decisions, but I like having areas that are all kind of, it might be 7 colors. I mean, gosh, I use tons of colors to get this varied layer, and even now, you know, it's quite a process, but once I've got the colors and I'm happy with them, it then becomes that calming, meditative kind of feeling whenever I'm coloring, instead of going, okay, so what color am I going to do next? So every once in a while, I really, when I get something that has a huge element like this basket, I am so content to just work on the basket. Work on the basket. You know, what are you still doing? I'm still coloring the basket. What are you going to go do? I'm going to color my basket. I think other people enjoy jumping around and using a bunch of different colors and maybe working on multiple elements. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm taking this darker one and coming back in and adding even more of a dark shadow on this that I've already kind of worked on before. And that's what I do. I mean, as I move around, I'm looking, going, oh, I see some light. Like right here, I've got to figure out what I'm going to do, because that looks like I should be able to see the wicker basket behind it, and I haven't colored that yet, so I'm going to need to. All right. And then I have one more Triplus that I like to come in, and it's more of like the yellow, and that's yet that next gradient. So this color combination, my Triplus, works pretty well, but there's not, unfortunately, there's not a color combination for green and red that works as well as my browns, especially when I am trying to get kind of that yellow look. So that's coming out just a little bit again. So So I took this to work the other day and was going to try to do it during lunchtime, and because I have an office that I can sit and do it in. But oh, it was not a good experience because I wanted to keep going. And I was trying to find things I could do while coloring, and you know, that ain't gonna work in my job. Unfortunately, I can't color while doing my job. And I was trying to listen to some training, professional development stuff, and even that wasn't working. I mean, it wasn't going to work because I know I was concentrating on this way too much. It's not like a story I could follow along. It was stuff I should be, really focusing on, and it was interesting. So I really liked what I was listening to. I kept wanting to write things down that they were talking about. And yeah, so I kept wanting to write the things down that they were saying, and so of course that interrupts the whole process. So this here is just golden yellow, and I'm going to kind of come in and start trying to make those blend a little bit more. Now I don't mind if there's a few striations, because if we think about willow has a tendency to have, it's a wood. It has a grain. So these little striations don't bother me as much. Now I don't know in the in all incidences that would be true, but these don't bother me as much. Oh, here I go playing again, because that's what I do. All right, so that is basically those color combinations that I'm going to be using as I continue through doing the rest of the basket. You at least now have those combination, and you also saw what I could do in 30 minutes. And just know it's now going to take me, I mean, if that little section before doing that part was 30 minutes, yeah, we're a couple more hours of just the basket. And then the next one I'll try to bring you in is going to be on the leaves. I think that might be kind of interesting to see the mix that I do on my leaves, and then maybe even working on these little guys. But I definitely, I think more the leaves than anything else at this point. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'm just going to go off and go color. So, woohoo! So here is the final basket completed. I'm very happy with it. It's been a labor of love doing it. Like I said, sometimes it's just really nice once you get your color set and the process set just to do it over and over again. I definitely want to bring you along for whenever I do the leaves, so that'll be probably the final installment in the basket at this point. As you can tell, I've already started coloring my little Roman grapelators. Yeah, I don't think they're not gladiators, but my little guards of my grapes, as you can see, and been enjoying that. That's been an interesting little process. But I will bring you back for the leaves, and until next time, keep coloring those pages, and thank you so much for watching.